Okay, anything you,
Recording in progress.
the recording is on, so anything you say will be used against you.
Stand by.
All right.
Getting rid of the goddess. Hang on. We're getting rid of the goddess.
Where's the got it? Okay. Oh, I know the
I got one
got
more
it.
got it.
I got it. All right. So our challenge today is this scene with sap buckets and a winter scene with some snow, some dried leaves. But our challenge is to use what I've given you in a homework assignment, a 3-color palette. A blue, a red, and a yellow. And I've given you these, the names of these colors because they have been proven by other artists, not just me, to be good combinations. Robert Wade happens to like cobalt, alizarin, and aureolin. Betty Lou Schlem likes, I think, cobalt, burnt sienna, and raw sienna. Anyway, so as I paint today, please don't say, oh, what color did you use? Because it'll be blue, red, or yellow. And each of you, at least in the room, I've gone around and make sure you're using one of the combinations that I gave you. The reason that you can't just mix any old red, yellow, and blue, you could try. But there are watercolors that are called transparent watercolors. And there are watercolors that are on the more opaque side. And if you were to choose opaque blue, like cobalt's fairly opaque, and an opaque Venetian red, and an opaque yellow ochre, you would just be getting mud over and over. The colors wouldn't be very translucent. In most of these cases, there's one opaque color and 2 transparent, or what they call staining colors. And I can't go into the chemistry of all this. Phthalo blue is definitely a staining and a very transparent color, so you can mix that with a brown madder, which is a more opaque color. And by opaque, it means that there's a little more
Probably pigment-based as opposed
yeah,
to
pigment.
dye-based.
It's more like clay particles in it than maybe a chemical that's a little thinner. Doug, would you close that door just in case we get some stuff coming
Do
through?
you think that's like an earthy red? Earthy,
Well, I mean, what earthy red?
the Venetian red?
Venetian red is kind of a brick red,
Oh, brick.
and it's very opaque.
Okay.
But it works well with ultramarine because that one is very clear or whatever, translucent. Yeah. So I happen to have chosen, just because I don't use it very often, cobalt blue, burnt sienna, and raw sienna. And the cobalt is the more opaque of the 3. So those are the 3 I'm using. We've got the sketch here.
You put it to your red.
I'm using burnt sienna as my red and raw sienna as my yellow. Okay. Now this is it.
You couldn't put the ultramarine with those two, with burnt and raw sienna?
You could.
Because I'm thinking, I don't have cobalt, but I like the other two.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that one would work because I think that combo can work.
Is raw sienna more opaque? Or transparent?
Raw sienna is fairly transparent, whereas raw ochre is more opaque.
Yes.
All right, I don't want to get too. Oh, good. We got one more. Lori's coming. Lori's coming in. Okay. Now, the real trick as you look at this is making sure you figure out what your values are going to be. Which is lighter, the tree or the sky?
I think the trees.
I think the tree is too, on the light side of the tree.
Oh, on the light side.
Okay. What's lighter, the tree or the leaves?
The tree.
They're pretty close, aren't they?
Yeah, it's kind of mid.
So in that case, I'm going to push, maybe make the tree a little toward one kind of gray, like a yellowy gray or something, and I might have the leaves be on a more reddish gray, but it's not red, obviously.
Right.
And obviously the sky is going to be blue, but sky usually is our lightest color. In this case, I don't think it's the lightest because the snow is going to be the whitest, right?
That's right.
So you've got to kind of at the beginning figure out, you know, what's what. And then I'll tell you, it took a long time for me to figure what color or what value is the road.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a.
Some of it's really
Between a
shadowy.
3 and a 4.
Yeah, it's got a lot of shadows, Kirk. You're right. So if you make it that dark, the shadows in the road are going to get mixed up with the shadows in that rock wall, and so I'm going to forget about any shadows on the road. The road's so thin anyway,
That's what I think.
and I'm going to leave it a fairly light color. So those are some decisions I've made right at the beginning, and of course, as you saw in my drawing, I left out an awful lot of trees. I'm not trying to make sure I do every single tree in this photograph. I did keep both sap buckets, so okay. And we got a little bit of snow over here, and whatever. Okay, so boy, when I drove here to the gallery, I said, you know, I'm doing just what I like to do.
White out.
Judy, I'm headed for a class to do a painting of a lovely scene, and I sort of enjoy sharing what I've learned about watercolor with all of you. So it's just like, this is a nice day, and somebody brought muffins and we got coffee, so everything's all good.
It's a rich, warm human experience.
Okay.
It's a gathering.
Okay, so I'm going to start, and I'm sorry that whenever I start, I'm going to be covering an awful lot of paper with color before I stop and let you paint. So please be patient and sort of watch me. I'm not going to paint the sky first. I've decided to, didn't I say? We said the sky was not the lightest.
That's right, yeah. Okay.
So my tree is the lightest. So I'm painting, here's this elbow of the tree going up.
And you're plain water right now, right?
Plain water. Judy's trying to keep up with me, and then she's going to say, oh, what color did you use? Okay. All right. And I'll be floating color. Now, of course, I want to go around those sap buckets.
You do want to go around the side.
And you do. All right. And I'm sorry, painting water is not very exciting, even on Zoom, right?
Hey Ned, what's the size of paper you use?
I use it's called a half sheet. It's 15 by 22. It's a half a sheet of watercolor, which is watercolor paper. And that's also it.
While you're,
Yep. Go ahead, Barb.
sorry, while you're painting water, are you going to leave that snow the white of the paper?
Yep. I am going to leave the snow the white of paper. Yep. And I'm going to put water on some of these saplings. Now, don't worry about, oh dear. Some have already put mascoid fluid on their saplings, and that's fine. Another thing you could do, and I haven't done it, but you can do, is take some masking tape off to the side and cut little thin ribbons of masking tape and put that on your paper and just lay it down, and then you can paint right over the masking tape, and then when you pick the masking tape up, you will have your watercolor, the white watercolor paper again. Okay, saplings. Okay, so what did I say? I'm going to raw sienna, burnt sienna. And if you're burnt sienna, if you don't have fresh color, that color turns hard really quickly. I really hate it. But anyway, sorry. So I'm going to mix all three of these things on here, and I'm going to put something on. And don't be afraid. I put this on. I go, how does that look? Oh, that looks too yellow, or at least for me. And this is going to look darker on the screen than it is on my page. And let's get
Darker on the screen, you said?
Yeah, it always does. Yeah. You guys have noticed that, right?
Yeah, almost.
I'm going to keep this color more toward the red and yellow orangey tone, but with a little bit of blue mixed in, so it doesn't look like, the fruit orange. And I'm just going to flood this. Gotta go around these dumb things. But I shouldn't say dumb, they're going out of favor now. Everyone's using those plastic tubes, and
Yeah,
that's
they
certainly much less fun to paint.
And to see.
Right, you're right, they're not as attractive.
Yeah.
Okay, here's, okay, so it's a more yellowy looking tree. And I'm fanning these. Wow, there's a lot of that stuff going out here.
Yeah, it's wide.
Okay. Okay, and then I'm going to take the same color and just run it up these trees. And even if I make these trees, if they come out too thick because I push too hard on the brush, I can come back with a darker color on either side of it. So it's right. If I put that, when I put that barn in, these trees can get thinner if I want them to be. I'm mindful in my saplings to keep the spacing between them irregular. I've got a very narrow space over here and then a large space between the second and third one. You don't want to have them lining up like our picket fences. All right, so that's sort of yellowy. Okay, and I'm gonna do this yellowy color with a little more of the more yellowy in the road. I'm going around the rocks. Around rocks. Boy, how did I?
Wet that first, right?
I didn't. Didn't get there. Oh, and I've got this road. I see the road, but it's not in the photograph. I'm having the road come into the field this way.
Yeah, I noticed that wasn't in the photo.
No,
You
it's
made
not
it
in the
just for your
photograph.
own interest.
Yep,
like,
I just
to make
sort of have a little opening coming in
it-
here,
Yeah,
you know?
I liked it, yeah.
Breaks up all that space and.
Breaks up all that space. Okay, now while I got all this is soupy and wet,
Yeah.
I want to get my leaves in. While the tree trunk is still fairly wet, so that I'm not making sharp lines. See how the lines are blurring? Okay, come on, here we go. Let's get a little more. Okay, now I gotta watch out for those pieces of, there's some snow there, and I just went over some of it.
Oh.
That's too bad, right? Mm-mm.
Happy
Oh, well,
happy
happy
accident.
accidents, right? Okay, so I'm gonna have my snow will be, I'm gonna have it up here, that little patch of snow. There it is, so no, not there. Okay, and this is leaves. It's down here. How many patches of snow am I gonna have here? Okay, now, how am I gonna make leaves look like leaves? And I'm running out of my color, that makes me mad.
Is this gonna be a Ned tip?
Yeah, this would be in there
Little
too.
dark accents.
I don't know, what are we gonna do here? We're gonna,
Are you gonna use a toothbrush or a comb?
good question, okay. Now, is this gonna do anything? Oh, wow. Okay, I pulled this out of the garbage can. This is just cellophane from the reception we had yesterday. And I just pushed it down on there, and I'm getting, some really weird, oh my God. Oh, this is wacko.
Very effective.
I can really get carried away with this. Oh my God.
So all it's doing is moving the wet paint around.
Holy mackerel.
Now, you can also use a sponge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all I've done, and because the paint is fairly wet, it's actually bleeding back in. I'm not keeping that. And I'm also going to, as I think Emil guessed, or Doug, I am gonna flick.
Yeah, well, back in his direction.
But I gotta make sure it doesn't, the flicks don't land on the snow.
Immediately take them out.
Wow.
I'm just trying to make this a little,
Texture.
just
Yeah.
rough it up a little bit. I'm just, woo, woo, woo. All right, now let that go. All right, is that enough?
That looks
Oh, no, no,
great.
no, okay, okay.
Okay.
All right, shh, 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 shh. Okay, shh, 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 shh. Here we go, and now I'm just adding blue to the mixture of gray I had. And I'm gonna get these rocks in. And I see that as a bluish gray rather than the reddish or yellowish grays we had in the trees and in the leaves. There's a sigh for you. I'm trying to get these things in while everything is wet, so the edges will blend a little bit. Okay, let's just, and then I'm done. I'm gonna do this blue up. I don't want to leave any white highlights around there. Oh, that's blue, isn't it? Wow, I love that. I like it too, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah.
kind of looks, jumps out a little bit.
Wow. Something.
And what did I forget?
Did you forget to leave the highlights on the stones? Is that what you told me?
Nope.
Oh,
The buckets.
oh.
No, this red over, this little bit of leaves over here.
Ah. Oops.
So these are some of the more of those leaves. Oh, there's some snow in the picture though, right?
Yeah, I don't think we have that part.
Well, maybe we'll leave a little bit more snow over there.
There you go.
Okay, and I'm taking a little bit of this red while I have it and just putting it in a few
Spots where the crevice.
where the crevices are, just to remind me that I'm gonna have some darks in there. Okay, there, I'll let you guys paint. So I think I did about 9 minutes there. I'll leave you about 12 or so to be careful with that splattering. Whew. All right. And last night I tried tinfoil on to make that texture, and it didn't work at all. So I thought, well, that's stupid, because I was going to email people and say, oh, bring some tinfoil to your painting space. And it didn't work at all. So I thought, well, that's the heck with that. But then this morning, when I was fussing around in the bathroom and throwing away my paper towels, I looked in, I saw that piece of very firm cellophane that we'd use for some party cups at our reception. I thought, well, we'll give this a try. And I didn't try it until I did in front of you guys. So
I wonder what Peggy's muffin wrappers would do.
Well, oh, muffin wrapper? Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Be a little grainy.
Yeah.
Saran wrap works.
Saran wrap could work too.
Yeah,
think-
I use saran wrap.
Okay, you've done that before?
Yeah.
Mhm. And all these things are just a little bit gimmicky, but and when I
What you want.
Yes, but it was fun.
if I'm outside in the plein air painting, there's no way that I bring tinfoil and saran wrap and
You don't have to.
the the masculine.
Just litter? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh, you're so funny.
Line litter.
Bill, I did have a painting blow off my easel onto grass, face down like a peanut butter sandwich.
Yeah.
And then when I picked it up, the grass texture was was on the paint. And it worked.
That's cool. It's called serendipity.
They
no
say we
kidding.
should throw our paintings into the grass.
Exactly.
We did not wet the street, correct?
Did not wet the what?
We did not
street.
wet the street.
I didn't. I kind of thought of it as an afterthought, so I didn't. I also didn't want my tree to blend into the street.
Pavement.
Right.
So your palettes all should look like a big puddle of water in the middle, and then on one side it should be kind of yellowy, and then another side should be kind of redishy. Another corner should be blue, and as you're mixing your grays, you can pick up a little more blue if it looks too orange, or if the blue is too bright, grab another color. The sound of paint drying.
We're doing that shadow that's coming across from the big tree, right, into the leaves? That really dark shadow.
Yeah, I didn't put it in yet.
Yeah, but we're gonna,
Yeah, there's a shadow coming from the left that I'm not going to put in. All right, I'm going to be painting water into my sky. Not going over the roof of the barn, because that's going to remain white. Or we hope I can keep it white. But I'm going right down into the distant hillsides and distant trees below the sky. So you're not missing anything right now. I'm just painting water. I've been mindful that some weeks we go pretty slowly at the beginning, or at least give you a lot of time, and then we get to the end of the class, and there's a lot of little things to do, and we're rushing it. So I'm trying to get
I bought some salt if anybody wants it.
You brought salt?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I used it on the leaves, it actually.
No, that's good. That's great. Yep. There are all kinds of little
Yeah,
things
I
you.
just didn't see it.
Yep, that's fine. That's good. Good. Okay, if you want to look up now, I'm going to be dropping a little bit of a yellow tone into the sky, just, I don't know, at the horizon, to give a little bit of that morning feeling, perhaps. It may not even show up until later. And since I've already wetted the paper, the blue will drop in and move.
Wow.
So that's more plain blue, right? Or did you mix that blue?
Plain blue.
I mean,
Remember, we're all using red, yellow, and blue, so don't even ask.
yeah.
All right. Now the hills will eventually be darker than the sky. And you have all are, of course, are rapt attention watching my sky color. Yeah, whatever. And I do gotta kind of gotta move because I don't want the water on the paper to dry out too soon. It can dry out, I guess, a little bit. Wow.
Is that wet on wet?
It is.
Telephone.
Yep, the eggs are done. Okay, now take a look up here. Just now, I do want your attention. While you have sometimes you have some puddles of water up, and they almost are ready to dribble into something. I'm going to take the blue up here, and I'm going to make this. I'm going to pull that puddle and become the dark side of this tree. So the water sometimes needs a place to run. It needs a place to go. So there are times when I can release it from its spot up above
Bring it down.
and bring it down, and it just gives it, like a water droplet on a windshield. You watch it come down. It also helps me to see where my trees are too. All right. And then while this is all wet, I'm going to add now my background trees and then get down to the snow, and then I'll stop. All right? So, what's the difference between the background over on the right side and the background over on the left side? It is lighter. So I'm gonna, but it's definitely bluer too, I think, right? So I'm gonna add,
On the left or the right?
I think it's bluer on the right,
Yes.
right? So here's I'm throwing this blue in here with a little bit of my red. And this is just that distant hillside.
Yeah, the foothills.
And because it's already wet, I have to add quite a bit of color just to make it look like something. Okay, then the tones over here have a little more red in them. So let me see how this looks. Nope, no good. I don't have to paint this thing over and over again. So if I get the value right the first time, then I'll. But if I have to paint around these saplings 3 or 4 times, it's going to test my patience. Okay.
Sorry, Ned, if you you did what you said was a possibility and you put masking tape over some of those saplings.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you, just leave the mask, obviously leave the masking tape while you're doing this particular background? But,
Yep. I wouldn't
when do
take,
you take it off?
I'd take it off much later when everything else is dry. And then you would take the masking tape off and then put the shadow sides of the saplings in. Because they're gonna look like white bones sitting there.
Make sure the kids are all
And then I
the same.
suppose that then you put the light color, the way you've got your light color on them, you do that at that time?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Sorry to be so dumb about this.
No, that's all right, that's all right. No. You're asking just the question everybody else was thinking but didn't dare ask.
We're getting to it. It was on the to-do list.
Okay, so I've done my background, woods, and I've done my sky. I have a little blush of yellow up in here, which I'm not gonna fuss with, I kinda like it. And I think I need a little more red in this background woods. So I'm just, while it's wet, I can just keep adding color, plop color right on there. Oh, that's looking nice. Now, we can always, while it's wet, but you have to kind of wait till it sets up a little bit, you can scratch in some distant saplings, but I gotta be careful that I don't, there's a time when that works and then there's a time when it doesn't work. And it's a very tricky moment to see.
Oh, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Lori, you being served coffee? Is that what's happening?
Yeah. A latte. Greek stuff.
Nice.
My apologies.
That's all right. You want to put yourself on mute or bring your husband and serve us a latte?
He listens to
The rest of the class.
There you
Yeah.
go. I'm on mute.
All right. This is looking pretty good. Okay, we've gotten in the sky and a little bit of background trees. And maybe a little shadow on the right side of the trees if you've needed to bring a dribble line of dark down it as though it's the shadow of the tree, that's fine. Okay, so now
That's gonna be after.
the trick is we're going to start in on the barn. We can't have all that white
Right.
there. We've got to start to, and we don't have any real darks on this thing yet.
Dream home.
So, but I'm looking ahead because I'm going to need to do some shadows around those sap buckets. And if their sap buckets are sitting there soaking wet while I'm trying to make shadows on them, it's going to be bad. So I'm going to put in I'm going to just do a light gray. No, is that? I'm not gonna have it as white as the. No, I'm not. I'm just not gonna have it as white as this as the snow. So I'm gonna paint the whole damn bucket
Sounds.
a gray.
Great.
Okay. Later I could. Okay, this is easy. Just and it's a bluish gray because this is metal. Don't let it get greenish. Okay. Put a shadow underneath there. Okay, so that's enough. I'm also, while I have a little bit of blue on my brush, are you all watching? I'm putting the windows in here because they reflect the sky often.
Cool.
So I may as well do this now because I don't want to put them in after I put the brown in because then it gets a little tricky. Okay, so those are like eyes, don't they? Okay, now the barn, it's brown. But I'm seeing it on the left side, the side nearest the tree. I'm seeing it as being a warm brown because the light is hitting it. So I'm gonna, and almost right up near the top, it's almost the pure yellowy brown. So I'm gonna start painting this in. I'm not doing wet and wet because it's so, these areas are so tight. But I don't want the whole thing to be one color, so I'm adding a little bit of reddish color, a little bit of blue down near the bottom. Again, broken color, so you have not just a flat brown, but it varies slightly. It's perhaps a little redder or yellower near the top. And I see it definitely darker near the bottom. A little more blue in there. Okay. Now, not all of you saw, and probably because the photograph didn't show you very clearly, but there's a little extension. It sticks out, this building, because
That's a little darker,
yeah, so I'm seeing the sunlight hitting this little section.
It's got solar panels.
Yeah, it does have solar panels.
This is a new barn, right? It's got solar panels, a look.
Now they put some solar, good idea, huh?
I'll put mine in.
Now, while I've got the color sort of on my brush, I'm going to give the eaves a dark line. Okay, there. Now what happens? Now I've got to do the dark side of the barn. So you just add a little more blue to cool it down. You keep the color fairly.
Confused with the dark side of the moon.
That's the first thing that came into mind.
The dark side of the barn.
Great minds think alike there.
Standing painter. We're thinking on our feet. Right, Doug?
Sure. Whatever you say.
try and go around these windows because they are now dry.
That's what I'm supposed to do.
I'm gonna go around these garage doors. I'll tell you why later, but the barn doors where the cows go.
You sure it's a barn?
Oh, it's a
That
barn.
looks like a dream home.
You know,
Yeah.
it could be a hay barn,
Yeah.
but it's,
So Ned, your title for this is Flint's. Is that
Oh.
Hank and Suzanne?
Yeah, it is. It is. Yep. I didn't see. Was the title on the slide itself? I guess.
The title was on the slide.
Yeah. Okay. Because for our class, I was just calling it Vermont Sap Buckets, but yeah, this is the Flint's barn. And Suzanne was in this class 2 years ago.
I remember that. That was my first class.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you were in it then,
Susan or Suzanne?
Suzanne. And she's now really spending her creative time with hooked rugs. She sent me a picture today. It's beautiful.
So you know these people.
Yes. Yep.
So this could be their Christmas card next year.
Right. I've got to send her this this video because I think they'd be interested to see it. Okay, I'm going to put a little shadow line on here. Like that. Okay, how are we doing here? Shall I try to scrape out any more saplings? Are they going to fit in here? No, they don't work. Okay, I'll let you work on that barn. I'm just giving you 15 minutes to do the barn. And Bill, I saw Woody the other day. I was coming back from Vermont and stopped to get lunch, and he and his wife were stopping to get coffee. And we bumped into each other, and he asked about the class and all that kind of stuff.
Why is he not in it?
Oh, it's all crazy.
Oh, okay.
Whether it's grandchildren or they're selling their house in Vermont and some other stuff. So it's crazy.
I thought people spent the rest of their life in Vermont.
Oh no, they had a beautiful house too, but they just decided they just couldn't. They weren't. Their son and 2 grandchildren are in New York City, and they're just not getting up to Vermont as much as they.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy, but you should see their house. Oof, beautiful.
There's a certain point though, where it's like, who owns the house? Does the house own you? Or
Yes,
do you
yes.
own the house?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Exactly.
And that's how I felt when we closed on the house in Brooklyn. Here we are 30 years later, and I'm feeling as though I'm getting a handle on it after all these years. Finally.
He's got some laugh.
Okay, and when the barn started to dry a little bit, I put in a few of these lines to make it look like the barn boards, the vertical barn boards.
You did the pears?
I don't really know, unless the yellow perimeter, parameter actually really get it up.
Well, this will be one of my many unfinished paintings.
Is that Ellen?
Yup.
What's her style? She's professional.
She's gonna right into July with these paintings. Yeah, must be a little mistake.
That's coming out as a
A
commercial, right?
mistake. Must be a mistake. Sorry.
All right, I'm gonna start it again. This time, I'm gonna save the shadows on the snow for last, but I do want to get into the dark shadows. The tree is looking a little flat. It's
Yeah.
just one big tone. It definitely, on this side, it's darker than the background trees.
Right.
And where it goes up into a branch up here, it's darker than the background trees. So there's a pretty strong dark coming down here, pretty strong dark underneath in the shadow of the sap bucket.
Yeah.
And then you might see a few shadows coming across this way from
Nice.
other saplings or trees. So I'm gonna grab a, oh boy, I don't know how big a brush to get.
We need a water, a cleaner.
You can, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Everybody's gotten so much
We're a little
gray
lucky.
and blue and.
okay, I'm gonna use a fairly large brush here. So,
Look at this, this looks like a little elf or something,
Oh, yeah.
with his feet, no head.
okay.
Oh my God.
I'm starting with the blue, getting into a little bit of the my reddish color, and well, let's see how that looks. Okay, that's pretty good and dark. So I'm gonna pull this around. This is a tree thing up here. I think it needs to be darker. Okay, I'm gonna pull this down along here. Put a few flicks out because the edge of the bark has some little marks there. Wow. Fairly dark up in here. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Whereas my friend says, "Oh, boy."
Are you not happy with?
Well, I'm seeing really three colors in here. This is a fairly light tree, and now I'm putting in a middle tone.
Because it's quite a bright
Uh,
sun coming onto that tree.
Yeah, I'm squinting. There are some lines that go like this. I'm trying to create that texture.
Textures are one of the more difficult.
Gotta go be careful around this sap bucket. And
What color do you think you made that, dark brown? Or is it more blue?
well, I only have 3 colors I'm using, so what color could it be?
Well, does it have more blue than, must be more blue.
Yeah, I don't have much yellow in it. Okay, trying to just get this abstract pattern of tree trunk kind of stuff.
One, the yellow has this red tone to it. Okay.
Okay, very dark underneath the sap buckets.
Whoa.
Wow, I'll get a little more color up in here. Oh,
Huh? It's just scary.
No.
Yeah, it's dark.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
It's got a little big oak.
boy, I don't want this to look like.
Some weird. Yellowing, right?
That's hard work.
It is hard work.
And what did you think you were coming for, a massage?
That's what you get. After you leave here, you go get one of those.
Now I'm dropping a few really dark accents in along here too. This is very little water and lots of paint.
That's kind of the way I
I'll create the roundness up here. And if I have a light section, there's probably going to be a dark something just to the right of it. Now, while I got this going, because I'm really looking at shadows, shapes, I'm going to now start to go into some of the rocks. Wait a minute. Okay, I got that big brush. Let's pull this shadow right down. Okay, watch this shadow go right across the leaves.
Whoa.
Right across here. It's going to go up around the snow thing and trickle off. It's going to go like this, go up around the snow thing, trickle off. And it's also pretty dark right down in here. So at the base of this rock wall, it's darn it, it's really dark. How's that look? Oh, I gotta keep the blue. If it's the shadow, it's gonna be in blue. Come on, keep it blue.
Did you make it purple?
Yeah, you could. Yep. All right, now. So now it's a matter of, these rocks are fairly dark up next to the tree. Okay, now I'm painting the shapes in between the rocks. This is our negative painting lesson. You see that?
Later he's gonna clean under the sofa.
Now, this rock wall is an interesting one because it has some good flat stones right on the very top. So you want to capture that effect here. Okay, and I don't want to forget about these rocks. And squint your eyes. If something doesn't look right,
It probably isn't.
it probably isn't. Yeah. And I've got rocks down in here I want to do. Oh dear. In the photograph, there's a big shadow coming in from the left in that lower corner, and I'm not going to put it on those rocks. I'm going to leave those more free form.
That shadow's been canceled.
The shadow's been, yeah. And now's the time to put in the shadow of the bucket. And as long as we're doing shadows, we need to get into the red leaves and get some hint of shadow in them. And this is gonna be, you gotta be kind of careful here.
Man, you are spattering?
Yeah, I'm doing a little bit. Yeah, I'm doing a little spatter down here. I just got to create some sort of texture without trying to do leaf by leaf. All right, so let's try a little texture in the foreground, get some shadows into the tree trunks, into the tree bark. Make sure you get rid of any little white unpainted areas, because otherwise it's gonna look like snow. I don't think you're gonna, you may not want some of those things. I'm going very dark inside the bucket. All right, little pause there. Wow. I'll tell you that I think trying to get the texture in the leaves and the texture in the trees one of the hardest parts. You don't want it to look too finicky or fussy, but on the other hand, you want something to break up the flat paint. corner in light.
Okay. Down here.
Yeah, don't you think?
Yep, it is.
Are we doing, a slush line?
Yeah, I know, I gotta put that in, at the
Okay.
edge of the road.
Yeah,
I was looking at that going, we gotta deal with that.
okay. Wasn't sure whether we were ignoring it.
No,
I have it drawn in, but I,
no, I've got it drawn into. Yeah, you can't have that clean snow right up to the edge of the road, right?
yeah. Not really. Sorry.
Okay, we don't have much to do, but I wanna do the slushy edge of the road. I wanna do the darks inside the barn doors there. And then, of course, the shadows of the trees is gonna be the dessert here. Okay. So in order not to have, Judy, in order not to have the doors be black rectangles, I'm going to, wow, okay, this burnt sienna just gets so gummy so early.
Oh, wow.
It does.
It gets sticky, doesn't it? I really don't like. Okay, I'm going to take a little burnt sienna and a little yellow, and right at the, since the sun's coming from this side, right at the edge of these,
Do you say he's taking burnt sienna and yellow?
yep, and the raw, whatever. I'm just putting some accents on this side of the door opening. Okay, then I'm going to grab my blue. We're going to make this pretty damn dark in here. Come on, let's get a little more blue into it. Come on, blue. And it's sort of like, maybe there's a little bit of hay in there, or there's some tools up against there, but I'm trying not to have
Like a snow blower.
I'm trying not to have that dark shape be rectangular, big square. So I've got a little accent of color in there. I don't want to make both doors the same, but you sort of feel like something's in there. I don't know. Okay, that's that. I'll put a little accent around the windows. A little dark underneath. There. I don't think I need too many of them. Right. Okay, so now the slush. I see the edge of the road is okay. Here we go with that, and the edge is going to be irregular.
I like slush.
All right.
I hate slush. It makes everything look so ugly.
Judy, did you say you like
Slush is good.
You're the only person I've ever heard say.
Well, lemon lime, slush. Slush fun.
Oh, well, you're thinking something else, yeah.
Always.
Always, that's true.
So it's sort of on my yellowy color, but with a little bit of blue in it to darken up. I'm giving an edge to the road. I'm going back, and I'm just. Oh, God, these colors get sticky. And I'm just gonna give an edge to the road, not too dark, but ragged.
Yes.
So it's like, and I'm trailing it off. It's not gonna be as thick up at this end as it was down here. There's that slush line. I'm gonna keep the bottom fairly straight. And the top raggedy. And leave it like that. Now, are we ready for the blue? Ugh. The blue shadows. And maybe just a touch of my red in it, so it's not totally blue. And we'll see how these look. Okay, there's going to be some shadows coming from other trees that outside the picture.
And shadows on the roof of the barn too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause that's not
Okay.
pure white.
And the shadows follow the contour of the land too. So that, okay, watch this one. I'm going to go along the bottom here.
Actually,
It's
they
gonna
tell
go
you
up.
the contour.
And it goes up and then disappears. So you get a feeling that these shadows are going up the hill toward the barn. Or, well, we can pretend there is. Let's get a few more here. It's going to go past this tree. This tree's going to have a nice, there's a good one going up, and then it goes up. It goes across like that. This one's going to go up. Disappear. Okay, so some of these have little branches coming out. In our little world, we can have as many branches as we want. And Doug's right. There are some shapes that go up the side of the. Some shadows that go up the side of the barn. And then shadows that go across the roof. How are we doing here? How's that look? You want the shadows to help you with the contour of the land here.
That's such nice depth.
All right. I see a little bit of a rock wall that I didn't put in up in here that I can stick in here. Okay, and now the last thing is just to take those shadow colors and start to go right up the edges of your trees, or your saplings,
Oh, okay. Good idea.
to give them a little more dimension. And you can run a few extra lines off of them if you want. And make sure the shadow touches the tree trunk at the bottom. You don't want the shadows to be floating off into nothing. And you're going to be left with trees that are just this very faint light side of them. They're not going to be too bright. And we're doing these last because these are darker than the shadows. And if some of the trees still look too light to you, you can tone them down with a little bit of shadow tone. And I have some of these the snow here that all right, there we go. I think I may go back and fuss some areas, but enough details that you all can finish at home between the shadows in the rocks, a little bit of shadows in the leaves, textures, snow shadows. You know, try to keep the shadows. You don't want to get them too stripy. You know, like. So I feel like some of my shadows are all.
So unstripe them.
Yeah, if some of them are too much the same, I'm making some wider and some thinner. Okay, some of my saplings are a little too white, so I'm just going over them with a little hint of color.
Recording stopped.
The recording stopped. That doesn't mean you have to stop.